At 40, she was hidden away and mocked. Then the incredible Duke discovered her amazing soul. Sarah Reynolds felt invisible as she stepped into her tiny kitchen, the warmth of the oven contrasting sharply with the chill of reality. At 40, the gleaming pastry counter that once drew crowds now lay dormant like her dreams. The beloved bakery she had poured her heart into lost to corporate greed. She sighed, staring out the window at the quaint town, where the sun gleamed off cheerful picket fences and smiling faces. They don't see me, she thought, her heart heavy. In the next room, her teenage son Thomas sat hunched over his guitar, strumming softly, his creativity battling the bullying he faced daily at school. The whispers echoed in her mind, weird, outcast. Sarah's heart ached for him, and yet, caught in her struggle, she felt like a ghost, drifting through life with a facade of smiles. She wished she could pull her son into her arms, kiss away his hurt, tell him the world was bright, but the dull ache in her chest made it hard to believe in that brightness herself. Just then, a curious sound broke her train of thoughts. A knock at the door. Startled, Sarah opened it to reveal a tall figure, Duke Charles, the new arrival in town. He stood there, his striking blue eyes sweeping over her kitchen, drawn in by the sweet, welcoming aroma of her special pastries. "I couldn't help but notice the smell wafting through the air," he said, his voice warm like honey. In this moment, the first spark of warmth coursed through her, a reminder of the joy she used to share through her baking. "Would you like to try some?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The Duke's eyes sparkled with delight as he took a seat at her worn kitchen table. And there, between shared recipes and laughter, they began to bond, a friendship born of sweetness and kindred spirits. With each pastry, Sarah's heart fluttered, his genuine kindness sparked a light she thought had long dimmed. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." But as their friendship grew, so did the whispers around town. "What's he doing with her?" people would mutter, casting judgment with sharp eyes. Sarah felt the harshness of their scrutiny, leaving scars on her confidence. Each look from the townsfolk seemed to reinforce their prejudices, her being a single mother, a struggling baker who still dared to dream. She hesitated, insecurity creeping back in. The world seemed so determined to push her aside. Meanwhile, Thomas withdrew further, feeling the weight of his own battles and his mother's hidden struggles. Their conversations dwindled, replaced by awkward silences. But Sarah's heart surged with defiance one evening when a powerful local figure dared to ridicule her in public. As she prepared to retreat into her old self, wounded and small, she felt a hand squeeze hers. It was Thomas, stepping forward, his voice strong and clear. "She's my mom," he proclaimed. "And she's amazing." Silence fell, hanging heavy in the air. Sarah's heart raced. Could love and understanding truly bridge the gap between them and the harsh judgments of the world? The town was watching, and for the first time in years, she felt hope. As Sarah stood there, hand in hand with her son, an unexpected warmth surged through her. The silence that hung in the air was thick with astonishment, the townsfolk momentarily stunned into submission by Thomas' bold declaration. It was as if he had cast a spell, momentarily banishing the whispers and judgments that usually followed her like shadows. Her heart raced, a mix of fear and pride surging within her. She could see the gears turning in Thomas's mind, the way he grappled with both confidence and vulnerability. "You've got this," she wanted to tell him, wishing to be as brave as he was at that moment. The heavy silence was broken by a slow clap from a corner of the gathering. Duke Charles stood, a gentle smile on his face, his presence both reassuring and imposing. "I think we ought to celebrate this beautiful connection," he called out, his voice imbued with earnestness. "It takes immense courage to stand by those we love. Sarah, you are truly an inspiration." The words flooded over her like a soothing balm. Charles's approval seemed to wash away an inch of self-doubt. Yet as others began to murmur in agreement, nodding their heads, Sarah felt a weight at the back of her mind. Would they truly accept her, or were they only silenced in the moment? As the crowd dispersed, Sarah felt a new bond forming, not just with the Duke, but also with Thomas. They walked back home through the twilight, the fading colors of the sunset casting a gentle glow around them. Thomas had retreated into silence again, but this time, it felt different, like he was holding something precious inside of him. That night, as they sat on the couch with a few leftover pastries, Sarah asked, "How did you find the confidence to stand up like that?" She watched him closely, her heart full of both admiration and a lingering concern. "It just felt like the right thing to do," he replied, his voice soft but steady. "You always say that being true to yourself is what matters. I just wanted to stand by you." Tears stung her eyes. This sweet young man, so filled with resilience, was a reflection of her own hidden strength. They shared a warmth, a new understanding born not just of blood but of experience. Yet, just as she felt the walls of doubt starting to crumble, a heavy uncertainty loomed. Would this newfound familial bond withstand the scrutiny of the town? Or would they once again buckle under the grand expectations and prejudices that so many seemed to hold? The next day, Sarah returned to her tiny kitchen, more determined than ever. There was baking to be done. Each sprinkle of flour and drop of vanilla was a potential rebuke of the town's harsh judgments. But as she worked, she found her gaze lingering on the empty spot in her bakery, the vibrant life that had once filled it now a painful reminder of her struggle. Then, inspiration struck. What if she hosted a gathering? A chance to showcase not just her pastries, but also the authenticity she longed for. A true expression of who she was, not merely the woman they'd written off, but someone who held beauty and courage within her soul. With a new sense of resolve, she turned to find Thomas watching her, his guitar resting against the wall. "What do you think about a bake-off in the square?" she proposed, excitement tingling through her. His eyes sparkled with intrigue. "We could invite the Duke." And as they stood planning, Sarah felt a strange concoction of hope and apprehension stirring inside her. Could they transform the chilly judgment of their town into something warmer? Something beautiful? As the afternoon light streamed through the window, she knew this was just the beginning. With all the uncertainty bubbling below the surface, one undeniable thought echoed in her mind. Now they had to face the world together, vulnerable yet stronger, their souls intertwined, ready to claim their place in a community that seemed determined to overlook them. But what would happen when the Duke's past came crashing into their fragile newfound happiness? The bake-off was set for Saturday, vibrant posters hanging around town announcing the event. Sarah's heart raced with excitement and fear as she watched the colors splashed across the canvases flutter in the breeze. She couldn't shake the nagging thoughts that crept in, the doubts laden with a voice that whispered this might all fail. But each time, she caught a glimpse of Thomas, his determined smile lighting up her dark moments. They spent the last few days preparing together, stirring batter, decorating cupcakes, and even practicing a little dance routine to surprise everyone. The laughter filled the small kitchen, bouncing off the walls and weaving its way into the fabric of their lives. The night before the bake-off, Sarah couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, thoughts swirling. What if they didn't come? What if they laughed? Would she end up right back where she started? "Mom," Thomas whispered, his voice breaking the silence. She turned to see him standing in the doorway, a shadow against the moonlight. "Can we talk?" "Of course, sweetheart." The soft light from her bedside lamp cast a warm glow. He walked in, clutching his guitar. "I was thinking maybe I could play a song during the bake-off. It might lighten things up, right?" Her heart swelled. That's a wonderful idea. A perfect way to break the ice. She hesitated, a frown creasing her brow. "But what if they don't appreciate it?" "Then they're missing out on something amazing," he said, his conviction strong. "You've taught me to be proud of who I am, and this is a part of me, too. It's part of us." His words sunk deep, filling the cracks of her uncertainty with a warmth she hadn't realized she needed. They both fell into silence, and in that quiet moment, Sarah turned reflections of their journey over in her mind, the anger, the heartaches, and the victories they had shared. Morning dawned, bringing with it a crisp energy. At the square, awash with sunlight, townsfolk began to gather. Nervous energy danced in Sarah's stomach as she set out her baked goods, each creation a testament to her love and hard work. The sight of the colorful arrangements made her smile a vibrant contrast against the gray clouds of doubt. People milled about, the chatter creating a soothing background hum. Sarah caught glimpses of familiar faces, some still wary, while others seemed genuinely intrigued. A mix of hope and anxiety simmered within her. As the crowd began to pulse with excitement, Duke Charles arrived, the sun catching his hair just right. "Sarah! Everything looks incredible!" he exclaimed, clapping her on the back. His enthusiasm was infectious, and she couldn't help but feel emboldened. With a deep breath, Sarah stepped forward, raising her arms to garner attention. "Thank you all for coming. Today isn't just about the bake-off, it's about community, acceptance, and sharing what makes us unique." The gentle applause from the crowd felt like a warm embrace, easing her fears. As they settled in, Thomas found his spot with the guitar. The strumming of the strings felt like a pulse, representing the heart of the gathering. And then he began to sing. The lyrics flowed, filled with a powerful essence of togetherness and resilience, wrapping around them like a cherished memory. For the first time, laughter and joy echoed in the square, vibrating with palpable connection. But then, the music slipped, and a voice shattered the moment. "What is this? A freak show?" A figure stepped forward, cold and unfeeling, the eyes of the crowd shifting uncomfortably. Sarah froze, her heart pounding violently in her chest. She glanced back at Thomas and felt the warmth of togetherness flicker. What would happen next? Would everyone stand by them, or would they slip away into the shadows once more? Thomas's determination never wavered. He continued singing, his voice filled with strength, piercing through adversities. The crowd turned their attention to him, absorbing the power of his melody. Yet uncertainty lingered heavily in the air, making her feel lightheaded. Would this moment redeem or ruin their newfound hope? As the note soared, Sarah sensed that the truth of their journey was about to be revealed, but at what cost? The crowd's murmurs swelled, drowning out the music for a heartbeat. The tension was palpable, and Sarah could feel every pair of eyes piercing through her, each one a reminder of her insecurities. But as she stood there, watching Thomas pour his heart into every note, something shifted. "Who says we can't be ourselves?" he sang, his voice rising stronger. "Who says love can't shine brightly, even in the shadows?" A ripple of agreement buzzed through the crowd. At the edges, she could see a few people nodding, their faces drawn but curious. Were they starting to get it? The jeering figure Beth, she recognized, crossed her arms, still unwilling to dim her disdain. "This isn't a place for wannabes," she called out. "We came for the bake-off, not a circus. Keep it together, Sarah." Every word was a bullet, and Sarah felt each one hit her heart. But then, a soft voice broke through the tension. It was Mrs. Larkin, an elderly neighbor who'd always been a refuge in their little community. "Dare I say, Beth, the last time I looked, food was about joy, not judgment." As the crowd started to murmur in agreement, Sarah saw several faces turn toward Beth. With disbelief mixing with fear, she took a step back. In that moment, Thomas looked right into Sarah's eyes. He strummed a softer chord, the music calming, and sang directly to her. "I can't do this without you, Mom. Let us show them what love can create." Sarah's heart swelled with pride and fierce determination. She could see the small yet growing support surrounding them, a tapestry of kindness woven through their shared vulnerability. "Let us give them a show," Sarah said to herself, her voice barely above a whisper. But it was enough. She stepped forward, taking a deep breath. "Everyone, I believe in the magic of this moment. Let us embrace who we are, flaws and all. With that, Sarah pulled out her favorite decorated cupcake, the one that represented everything they had fought through. This one is dedicated to anyone who ever felt like they didn't fit in. The crowd began to clap, then cheer. Laughter erupted as she smiled brightly, brushing away the tears that threatened to spill. She started passing around her delightful creations, sharing the sweetness meant to connect rather than divide. "What's that you've got there, Sarah?" Duke Charles leaned in, eyeing a chocolate cupcake with rainbow sprinkles. "I'd say that looks good enough to steal the show." His friendly demeanor shone brightly against Beth's harshness. She noticed how the younger folks moved away from that negativity, drawn into their shared joy. The more Sarah shared, the more hands reached out, eager to grab a piece of her hard work. When she turned to Thomas, he was still playing, his fingers dancing over the strings, lifting the atmosphere like helium in balloons. As smiles spread across faces, he locked eyes with her. Both discovered power in this moment, a trust in their ability to rise from the ashes. But suddenly, Beth stepped back into the scene. "You call this a bake-off?" "More like a popularity contest." Sarah's heart sank for a moment. Would they take the bait? But before she could even process the worry, another voice piped in. "No, it's a testament to true courage. We should be celebrating, not tearing down." Cheers erupted again, drowning out Beth's contempt. Laughter blended with music, swirling together like a vibrant dance. In that moment, Sarah's doubts began to dissolve. They had found their footing amongst the chaos, and she saw threads of hope. But just as she felt a wave of calm, a new tension pounced, and Sarah saw a shadow lurking at the edge of the crowd, a figure who had been watching too intently. What was this person thinking? The weight of the day hung heavy, and her heart raced again. Was this a friend, or another source of trouble? As the music slowed, Sarah could feel the shift, and she braced herself for whatever would come next. The figure stepped closer, revealing a tall man with sharp features and a keen smile, though there was an edge of apprehension in his eyes. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't just a casual observer. He had purpose. "Hey! You're Thomas's mom, right?" he called out, his voice cutting through the music and laughter, balancing somewhere between admiration and an oddly aggressive tone. The entire crowd turned to face him, the clapping faltering, curiosity peaking. "Yes, I am," Sarah replied, her voice steady, but she felt a knot tightening in her stomach. "And you are?" "Name's Sam," he said, extending his hand with a flourish. "I'm a talent scout for the local arts scene. I've been watching Thomas play, and I must say, he's got something special." A ripple of surprise ran through the crowd, murmurs began again, more eagerly this time. Sarah's heart did a little leap. Was this the moment they had been waiting for? "Thank you, Sam," she said, trying to keep her tone light. "He practices a lot." "Practices? Ha! This kid's a gem." But he paused, eyeing her for a moment that felt longer than it was. "He shouldn't be wasting his time here." The crowd shifted, some faces showing concern, while others narrowed their eyes. A palpable tension filled the air again, and there it was, Beth's scoffing laughter, cutting through the room like glass. "Yeah, move along, buddy," she spat. "Save it for the pros. This is just a bake-off." Several people tossed her hard glares, while others cheered for Thomas in support. The back and forth was almost like a dance. Sarah felt her anxiety building, her heartbeat hammering in her chest. "For heaven's sake. I'm not here to judge anyone," Sam said, raising his hands in mock surrender. "But truth is, talent needs a platform, and right now, this isn't it." With his last words, he flicked his gaze towards Sarah, as if assessing her worth. "Why do we have to choose?" Sarah shot back, finally letting some fire ignite in her words. "Talent and community can exist together. Isn't this what it's all about? Making connections." Cheers erupted once more from the crowd, louder this time, drowning out Beth and Sam's dismissiveness. Laughter bubbled, and Sarah could see a burgeoning camaraderie, the very essence of togetherness she'd intended when bringing her treats. Sam leaned in a little closer, the smile dropping slightly from his face. "You're bold, I'll give you that," he said. "But don't forget this world isn't kind to the underdogs or to the shiny ones who think they own it," Duke Charles thundered from the back, eliciting laughter that echoed through the square. Sarah felt a new wave of courage surge through her. Perhaps, in this moment, they were all allies against the negativity hovering like a storm cloud. "We're thriving where we are," she exclaimed. "This isn't just about the bake-off or the music, it's about hope. About being together, flaws and all." There was no hesitation in Thomas's fingers as they returned to the chords. He poured his heart into the performance again, the rhythm kindling an electrifying energy that swept around them. Sarah moved through the crowd, passing cupcakes like small tokens of bravery. Just as Beth morphed from disbelief to anger, a shuffle drew Sarah's gaze back to Sam. He stood still for a moment, his brow furrowed, lost in thought. Had she cracked his facade? Sam started, then paused, his mind working visibly. "I admit, there is something captivating here." But just as Sarah thought they were about to turn a corner, Sam tilted his head toward the distance, his demeanor shifting. "But things could take a turn, you know. Everything in the art scene is cutthroat. You think you can manage that?" The anxiety clang in Sarah's chest. Would she really have to face those fears? With the crowd around her buzzing, filled with laughter and cheers, Sarah felt something swell deep inside her. The final notes of Thomas's song hung in the air like a promise, but the question lingered. Could she dare to step beyond this moment? Before she could reflect too deeply, Beth seized the opportunity again, her voice ready to strike with indignation. Sarah held her breath, wondering if they could push through the noise once more. How far would it go this time? Yet, in the midst of it all, she felt a small whisper of hope. Maybe today was just the beginning. The music vibrated in the air like a living thing, wrapping around Sarah as she felt her heart race. Would Beth dare to interrupt Thomas's moment again? The chill of uncertainty crept back in, but she fought it, holding on to the warmth of the crowd's supportive energy. "I won't let this slide," Beth announced, marching towards the front with a striking cruelty in her stride. The sneers on her face, dense with contempt, were impossible to ignore. "If you think you're going to turn this into some kind of showcase, think again. This is a bake-off, not your personal stage." A few audience members cringed, the tension snapping in the chilly air like a taut string. But Sarah wasn't backing down. "Beth, this is a celebration," she declared, raising her voice above the crowd. "A chance for everyone to come together. Your negativity isn't welcome here." Her words tasted like fire on her tongue, and she gripped the side of the table for support. "Negativity? You mean, truth?" Beth countered, her eyes darting across the crowd, searching for allies. "This is just a pity party wrapped in flour. You think this is about talent? It's cute that you think you can just waltz in and change things." But the crowd began to murmur again, not in support of Beth but in defense of Sarah. "She's right. This is about community." A voice shouted from the back. Others began to chant it, enthusiasm rippling through them like waves. Sam stood quietly off to the side, watching intently. For a moment, Sarah locked eyes with him. She wasn't sure what answer he was searching for, but his expression had turned contemplative, looking more intrigued than annoyed. "Let us keep it civil," someone yelled, bringing both women back to the present. Sarah's heart raced. She could feel the energy shifting, like the pull of the tide. Just when she thought this might spiral out of control, she inhaled deeply, searching for an anchor in her thoughts. "Perhaps you're right, Beth," she said, summoning every ounce of courage. "But there is beauty in every corner of our lives, even in moments that feel trivial to you. We pick each other up, cheer each other on, and help each other shine. That's what truly matters. Cheers erupted with a powerful force as if the crowd had been waiting for her words. There was strength in unity, a spark that lit the air. Sarah could sense the bonds forming between them, a protective reassurance against negativity. But then, as if the universe decided to balance the scales, Thomas struck a note that echoed powerfully through the square. The moment became electric, filling the space with the promise of a future that could hold more than what they saw now. It was raw and real, and it connected them all. Each one of us has a story, Sarah proclaimed, using the renewed strength in her voice. Let us share all our talents, our struggles, our joys. Even Beth paused, confusion flitting across her face had she lost her audience. But before she could speak, Sam shifted forward, a hint of admiration in his eye. You're strong, Sarah. And you might just be onto something, he said, the hint of a smile breaking through. The crowd buzzed, intrigued by the sudden accord. What are you getting at? Beth barked, recovering from the surprise. You're not seriously considering, why not? Sam interjected, cutting off her words. Talent shines brightest when supported by community. Sometimes underdogs give us the best stories to tell. A wave of cheers followed, filling Sarah with hope. However, Beth's sneer returned, and Sarah felt the tide shift once more. You think you can just create a world where everyone gets a trophy? It doesn't work like that. Beth snapped, her voice sharp like a whip. I'm not talking about trophies, Sarah replied, feeling her resolve solidify. I'm talking about lifting each other up. What's wrong with that? The crowd was shifting in her favor, their murmurs a chorus of agreement. But all the while, as she spoke, she couldn't shake the fear curling in her gut. Would Beth strike back again, or had she finally been silenced? Next to her, Thomas picked up on the tension. Adjusting his grip on the guitar, eyes darting between them. His face was tense, every emotion a web of uncertainty. Just then, Sarah noticed something slight in Sam's expression, a flicker of inspiration. It was as if a door had opened in his mind. Did he truly believe what he was saying? But with Beth's eyes narrowing dangerously, Sarah realized that their moment had only just begun. The challenge hung heavy in the air. Would they survive this confrontation, or would the bake-off fall prey to the storm brewing just beneath the surface? The future felt uncertain, yet full of possibility. As the crowd's applause swelled, Sarah's heart was a drumbeat in her chest. Each clap felt like an affirmation, a lifeline thrown to her in the storm of Beth's hostility. But even in the face of support, her doubt lingered like a shadow. Was this outpouring enough to change the course of the bake-off? Was it enough to quell Beth's fierce ambition? Beth's expression shifted, eyes narrowing as she plotted her next move. Lifting each other up, huh? She mocked, crossing her arms. It was like watching a hawk circle its prey, waiting for an opportune moment. And what happens when your community fails? When the pastries fall flat, or the flavors clash? You'll just be left with empty promises. Or maybe we'll have learned something along the way, Sarah shot back, her voice steadying. Every mistake is a step towards something better. It's not about perfection, Beth. It's about trying, sharing, and growing together. The words hung in the crisp air, and for a fleeting moment, it felt like clarity. She could see that the crowd was caught in the tide of her passion, but she also sensed a war inside them, a battle between protecting the status quo and evolving into something greater. Listen. Sam called out, stepping closer to the edge of the crowd. What if we turn this bake-off into something more than a competition? Let's make it a showcase of creativity, where everyone contributes their best. Maybe we can even have a Most Improved award instead of the usual trophies. The crowd buzzed with excitement, his idea sparking a new kind of energy. Exactly. Sarah exclaimed, feeling the thread of determination pull tighter. Let's celebrate each other's journeys. We all have something to offer, and it would mean a lot to craft something together. Even from his position, Thomas felt the shift. He began strumming a gentle melody, almost as if he was weaving the tension into something beautiful. The soft chord nestled alongside Sarah's words, resonating as an invitation to join in this collective vision. But Beth was relentless. "You think you can change everything just by talking about it?" she scoffed, her voice rising again. "You must be dreaming if you think that this will work." Just as she finished, a chorus from the crowd erupted. "We believe in Sarah." The chant echoed, igniting a vibrant wave of emotions. People exchanged glances, their uncertainties peeling away one by one. It was an unexpected moment of unity, far louder than Sarah anticipated, and yet she couldn't help but wonder if it was enough to quell Beth's simmering anger. Would Beth attempt to sabotage the very essence of what they were trying to build? Sarah caught a glimpse of Sam again, and it felt like a tether. His encouragement, his belief in her, ignited something in her spirit, a determination she didn't know she possessed. "Let us show everyone what we're made of," she shouted, intoxicated by the energy. "Let us focus on what connects us rather than what divides us." But just as hope flared, Beth stepped forward, a sharp grin breaking across her face. "Oh, this is so adorable. But let us see if your little plan can survive the heat of the oven." The crowd quieted, tension thick enough to slice through. Could Sarah and Sam rally the community, or would they crumble at Beth's test? As the bake-off loomed ever closer, the stakes felt higher than before. Would they gather the strength to defy Beth's sharp edges, or would her words serve as blades that could cut their newfound bond right in half? The answer felt just out of reach, and the next moments would reveal whether their fragile alliance could withstand the pressure to come. As the crowd fell silent, Sarah felt the weight of Beth's words settle like a heavy fog. Her heart raced, each thump echoing in her ears. Did they really think they could pull this off? Could they outlast Beth's cruel calculations? Sam shifted beside her, a reassuring presence in the gathering storm. "We're all here for each other," he whispered, echoing their shared hope. "Remember that." His glance held unwavering support, and suddenly Sarah didn't feel so alone. Taking a deep breath, Sarah stepped forward. "Let us do this," she said, lifting her chin defiantly. "Let us show Beth that we can create something beautiful together." She felt a rush of strength as a wave of murmurs spread through the crowd. Hope flickered in their eyes, igniting long-suppressed dreams. But Beth's laughter cut through like knife. "Create? You'll need more than dreams and sweet words. You all need skill. What do you think this is, an art class?" She scanned the crowd, her smirk growing wider as doubt riddled the faces around them. "How can you possibly expect to impress the judges when the best you have is this?" Her finger gestured dismissively towards a mismatched assortment of flour and sugar bags scattered across their little tables, remnants of prior bakes, failures, and experiments. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, caught between loyalty to Sarah and the sting of Beth's mockery. Would they truly rise after the moment of vulnerability opened their hearts? In that instant, Thomas paused before his guitar, his melody fading into silence. He looked at Sarah, eyebrows raised, as if to ask, "What now?" She masked her anxiety with hope, aware that a strong comeback was vital now. Their shared moment meant everything. "Look," she called out, her voice steadying, "no one starts out perfect. We learn, we stumble, and we learn again. This isn't just a competition, it's a way for us to grow. Every single one of us has faced challenges in bakes and life. It's how we support each other through those challenges that really matters." A tentative cheer rose from the crowd, the words resonating deeper than she intended. Sarah's heart pulsed louder, as she felt the spirit of unity swell up like dough rising in a warm kitchen. When people rally together, hope flourishes against opposition. Then Beth stepped in closer, eyes gleaming like polished glass. "Oh, but how sweet it is. I admire your spirit, I really do. Must be nice to think that togetherness can bake a great pie." She paused, her voice lowering to a mocking whisper, "But let us be real. Flavors matter, and I happen to be the best at this game." As Beth leaned in, Sarah noticed the crowd's anger bubbling just below the surface. With every jab, Beth was pushing their buttons, igniting a fire that could either burn them out or cook something incredible. Sarah resolved not to let fear take the reins. "Maybe we aren't as skilled as you, Beth," Sarah said, eyes piercing, "but we're passionate. We care, and that's where real magic happens." The crowd began to nod, and suddenly Sarah felt the connection they shared pulse through the air. The support was palpable, a true community fighting against the odds. "Let us stand together for each other," she rallied, her voice growing louder as she linked her arms with Sam's. "We will rise. You'll see." And in that charged moment, the atmosphere shifted again. The challenge was laid out, vibrant and unpredictable. A tension hung in the air, ripe for transformation, but Sarah knew they couldn't let Beth's shrewdness sabotage their spirit. As Sarah gazed into the crowd, she realized this was just the beginning. The bake-off would not merely test their creations, it would measure their courage to stand together. But could they sustain this resolve through the pressures ahead? Just then, the judge emerged from behind the curtain, a knowing smile on his face, turning towards the participants. "It seems we have a lively competition brewing, folks. But prepare yourselves, for the real test begins now." And with that, Sarah's heart raced anew. What twists lay ahead in the bake-off? Would they withstand the heat, or would their dreams crumble like an undisciplined pastry? The judge stepped fully into view, a warm smile contrasting with the cold tension that still gripped the room. "Welcome to the Great Bake-Off," he announced, his voice booming with excitement. "This is not just about the baking skills you possess, but also about creativity, teamwork, and heart. Today, I want to see you shine." Hope filled the air anew, but Sarah's gut twisted with urgency. She turned to the crowd, their faces a tapestry of fear and determination. "We've got to strategize. We can't let Beth's words shake us," she encouraged, scanning them with growing determination. Sam nodded beside her, stepping onto a makeshift platform where the tables stood ready for action. "What do we need first?" Thomas called out from the back, his voice a steady drumbeat. "Let us gather ingredients," Sarah shouted, rallying the group. "And remember, we need to collaborate. Everyone's skills matter here." The buzz of agreement rose, transforming doubt into vibrant energy. People moved, gathering around the tables, their hands diving into bags of flour, sugar, and spices. Laughter erupted alongside frenzied discussions, as ideas bounced back and forth like a lively game of seesaw. "Maybe we can infuse something unusual into our flavors," Sam chimed in, a smile stretched across his face. "Like lavender in a lemon cake. It could set us apart from the others." "Yes. And we can create a fruity topping to balance it," Sarah added, feeling the rhythm of ideas flow through them like sweet syrup. As their brainstorming session took shape, Sarah caught Beth's eye. The woman stood aloof, arms crossed, observing with feigned disinterest, but there was a tension behind her cool smile. Something in Sarah's chest ignited. They couldn't afford hesitation, especially when Beth thrived on chaos. "Let us divide into teams," Sarah suggested, kicking into her leadership instinct. "Bakers on one side, decorators on the other. We'll need both strong bakes and stunning presentations to make an impression." With a flurry of nods and movements, the group formed and solidified into teams. Sarah took charge of the baking group. They gathered around their various workstations, hands flour-dusted and sleeves rolled up. Excitement churned with each new idea, growing into a palpable force. Meanwhile, Sarah noticed the clock ticking ominously. Time was of the essence, and the competition would not wait. It was a race against the seconds. Just as they plunged into action, the judge's voice echoed through the space once more. "You have 2 hours to create your masterpieces. Time starts now." A wave of adrenaline surged through them. Sarah measured the ingredients while the oven heated to a proper temperature. Flour flew like confetti, laughter intertwined with the scent of melted butter and sugar wafting through the air. On another table, the decorating team whipped cream and folded in vibrant fruit, their spirits high. But through the fervor, Sarah felt the familiar shadow of doubt creeping back in. What if they weren't enough? What if Beth's words festered in their minds, making everything go wrong? She shook her head, pushing the thought away. Then she caught sight of Sam, his brow furrowed in concentration as he whisked eggs with determined intensity. The sight filled her with warmth. He was embodying the very spirit they needed. "Hey, everyone!" Sarah shouted, rallying them closer despite the busyness. "Don't forget, we're not just baking, we're making something that represents us. Every whisk, every sprinkle, every layer shows our journey together." She felt the energy shift, their collective spirit renewed. But in the distance, Sarah noticed Beth moving deliberately from table to table, a predator evaluating its prey. Could she sense the vulnerability they shared? As the clock ticked down, tension steepened. Could they hold together? What would happen if they faltered? Just then, the sound of a crash echoed through the air. All eyes snapped in the same direction. Sarah's heart pounded as she watched a stack of ingredients topple to the ground, a shimmering sea of color and chaos pouring out before them. And at that moment, she knew one of them would have to step up and intervene. Would it be her, or would someone else take the lead when all seemed lost? What choices lay ahead in this moment of crisis? With every heartbeat, the stakes climbed higher. The echo of the crash reverberated through the square, a stark reminder of what was at stake. Sarah's heart raced. This was no ordinary bake-off, it was a reflection of everything they had argued for: community, resilience, and the power to uplift one another. She glanced at her team, a mix of fear and determination on their faces. "Stay calm," she shouted, her voice slicing through the noise. "Let us clean this up. We can fix this." Like synchronized dancers, her team sprang into action. Some rushed to gather the spilled ingredients while others stepped back, focusing on what they could salvage. Sarah knelt down, her hands working swiftly, picking up the scattered flour and reaching for the eggs that had rolled too far. A moment of chaos turned into a surge of collective effort. Just then, as if sensing their struggle, Thomas's guitar joined the fray. He began playing a lively melody, a rhythm that turned tension into a dance of hope. The music filled the air, easing the stress weighing heavy on everyone's shoulders. "Keep going," Sarah encouraged, her heart swelling. "We're doing this together." As the team reassembled, ideas flourished in the air. "Let us focus on the flavors we've already chosen," one teammate called out. "We can make it work." The scent of vanilla and lemon wafted around them, intertwining with laughter, and Sarah could feel the dynamic shifting back toward their original vision. Every whisk, every scoop restored a sense of unity. The threat of Beth's sarcasm dimmed in the backdrop of their joyous collaboration. From the corner of her eye, Sarah spotted Beth again. The woman was still lurking, but now, she wore a scowl. Perhaps she sensed that her efforts to disrupt them had failed. "Are you all panicking yet?" Beth smirked, hands gripping the edge of her table, trying to provoke a reaction. But now the energy buzzing around Sarah was pure and focused. "I hope your dessert doesn't end up like yesterday's lunch." "Yeah. Well, we're cooking with heart." Sarah shot back, her confidence flaring. "That's a secret ingredient you can't touch." A ripple of laughter spread through the group, and as the words hung in the air, it became clear, they were something different now. What hadn't seemed possible was shaping into reality. Rejecting negativity was becoming their most powerful ingredient. "Let us finish strong," Sam shouted, rallying everyone once more. The joyful rhythm of Thomas's music entwined with their actions, amplifying the buzz in their stomachs, the exhilaration igniting creativity within them. As the clock ticked down to the final minutes, Sarah guided her team to collaborate on a stunning design. They layered their desserts, blending flavors harmoniously and turning simple ingredients into a beautiful display of culinary art. Just a touch more cream. And don't forget the sprinkles. She urged, moving swiftly yet calmly. Each layer, each stitch in their culinary tapestry, told a story of resilience, creativity, and unity. Finally, the judge beckoned everyone to present their creations. Sarah stood at the front, heart pounding against her ribs. She felt the eyes of the crowd on her, curious and tentative. "Presenting our masterpiece," she announced, confidence illuminating the space. "A dessert inspired by our community, our journeys, and our dreams, one that celebrates who we are together." Cheers erupted behind her as they unveiled their creation, a multi-layered cake that showcased vibrant colors, intricate designs, and an aroma that invited the world to their table. Just then, Thomas picked up his guitar again. "Let us celebrate together," he sang, his voice rising in a harmonious echo, blending with the spirit of triumph that swirled in the air. The crowd swayed with his melody, and Sarah's heart soared. They were no longer scattered pieces lost to doubt, they were unified, fierce, and bright. As Beth stood still, disbelief etched across her face, a realization settled in. "What is going on?" she murmured, her confidence slipping like grains of sand. With newfound boldness, Sarah turned to the crowds, waving her arms as laughter and joy enveloped them. "It's time for true change. Together, we can rise above pettiness and embrace every connection we have." The audience erupted once again, voices rising together as they echoed back Sarah's sentiment. In those moments, a bond had been forged, one that tied them tighter than fear ever could. And when it came time for the judge to announce the winner, Sarah didn't even need to hold her breath. They had already won the most powerful prize of all, the realization that they were not defined by the odds but by how they chose to face them. As they took their bows, engulfed by applause, Beth slipped away into the back of the crowd, leaving behind an empty echo of disdain. She was merely a shadow of the past, while Sarah and her team stood taller, brimming with hope. With arms around each other, they laughed and shared this monumental victory. Thomas smiled as he played with vibrant melodies, and Sarah, her heart overflowing, heard the whispers around her, a promise of connection, creativity, and courage that would linger long after the bake-off ended. And just like that, they embraced the future together. Now, let us keep that momentum going. You need to subscribe now to this channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. What did it mean to you? And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us celebrate our journey together.